Welcome to the Healing Pod. I'm Megan, a licensed clinical psychologist.
And I'm Jessica, a licensed clinical social worker, and this is our journey of navigating anxiety as we learn to take up space and create an environment where we feel that we can belong.
Join us together as we learn not just to survive, but to thrive in our anxious brains.
This podcast is intended for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional therapy or medical advice. If you are experiencing any mental health concerns, please seek support from a qualified mental health professional or healthcare provider. Remember, your mental health is important, and seeking personalized professional help is key to your well-being.
And welcome back. Both of us have disappeared from our respective states for a while and then returned. So unfortunately, we are no longer together down in Florida.
No, we had to go our separate ways, but
Yeah.
we also really had to get out of our comfort zones for a little bit, so we come with good stories for you.
Yes, so many of them. It's like, I touched so many wild animals. It was so cool.
I was in Vegas. Do the people count as wild animals?
Yes, but I wouldn't touch them. I mean, and the wild animals I touched were actually not wild. They were actually at touchable places. Like you can snorkel here with stingrays and you can pet the stingrays because they don't have stingers. So it was actually really awesome.
So you molested the stingrays.
Listen, to be fair, they molested us first.
That's usually true.
May have made my sister scream a lot. Her son found that very hilarious. They were just kind of like up next to you and up against you. It was adorable.
Yes, I love to look at the stingrays and don't so much like to touch them. They're kind of slimy.
Yeah, but they're so cool. The moray eels, those were creepy. They were behind a glass. I was very glad they were behind a glass. Those things are like huge. I can understand why they're terrifying. Yeah.
Yes. Indie life.
I know. See, that's just cool. I saw a cuttlefish. Have you ever seen a cuttlefish?
Yes, those are pretty cool.
They are so cool. As a little alien looking dude. I loved it. It was so cool. So anyway, that was me. How was Vegas and all your strange creatures you saw?
It was interesting. This is the first time I've been to Vegas as an adult. I grew up in that area, but this first time, like walking the strip and doing all of that in Fremont Street. So it was very interesting. A lot of drunk people, a lot of hookers handing out cards. That was interesting. They like hand you little porn cards. I was like, no, thank you, but good on you. Good luck.
Okay. I mean, that's
Don't
one
get
way of
murdered,
advertising,
please.
I guess. Yeah, please don't.
Y-
No murder.
You know, and that's where my brain goes. Like, I watch a lot of serial killer documentaries, and this is how you die. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I mean,
very
I guess if
interesting.
they're out there, there's enough people watching and witnesses, but she's like, you trust in humans? I'm not sure if I'm trusting these humans. Are you really trusting these humans?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of sketchy people there, and I'm pretty sure, like, set ourselves up to get human trafficked because my husband was in a hurry to get us, like,
Mhm.
back to the hotel, and there was, like, an Uber driver with a clearly marked Uber sign, and there was a car blocking him, and the guy was like, "Come on, get in," and then this other car, like, pulls up and opens his door, and he's like, "I got room for 5, get in," right? And it was not marked, but we weren't thinking, we are just like, "Alright, cool," right? Because there's cabs everywhere, and it's, like, on the cab spot, and we get in, and there's, like he doesn't start a timer or anything, we're like, "It's a little weird." And then we get to the hotel and he locks the doors. And I was
Mhm.
like, something's not right here. He's
Mm-mm.
like, $100. We're like, what? Like thinking he's joking,
Extortion.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And then the guy that was sitting in front was like, oh, I got $45. And he pulled out cash. And I think he thought, like, oh, some people have been drinking lots of money, right?
Mhm.
I can take advantage here. And then when he pulled out the cash out of his wallet, he unlocked the doors. As where I was like, get out of the car right now. So I was like, oh, okay. We're all about to
Mhm.
get murdered.
Yeah. Watch The Bone Collector. Great movie. No, no cabs. No.
Yeah, I've seen the Bone Collector. Like,
Mm-mm.
no,
Mm-mm.
thank you. That
Mhm.
first last trip to Vegas, I'm good now. Seen it,
Okay.
been there,
Mhm.
done that.
I mean, it looks pretty. Like, I love Cirque du Soleil. I would go see their Vegas show. I'm all down for good food. there's one smaller casino by us that we have gone to shows at, and I am just sensory overloaded. I like walk by the gambling and I'm twitchy. I'm like, I need to sit down somewhere. Where's the exit? I don't know where I'm at. Yeah, I don't know if I could survive actually walking down this trip. I really don't.
It was definite there were so many people, and that is my anxiety was, like, up here, and, of course, Ryan is a social, like, city creature, like, he loves it, he lives for that environment, and he's like, "Are you having fun?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this is great," and inside I'm like, "Oh my god, I just wanna go back to the hotel room."
See,
There's
I
so many
would yeah.
people.
Oh, man. I would probably either hide in the hotel room or I would do something like try to make a card collection out of all the porn cards and see how many different ones I could get. It's like,
Yes.
I have nothing to do. I'm going to talk to the other people or handing out cards and their job is to talk to me. Yes, I don't really want sex. I just want your card because I am anxious. Please, thank you. I'm
You would have
trying to
been
make a
very
collection.
proud of me. I was totally out of my comfort zone. I stayed out the whole time. I
Oh,
barely spent any time in the room other than when we went to the room to go to bed.
nice.
So I socialized he went
Mhm.
with his sister and brother-in-law, and they had like 10, I think 10 friends,
Mhm.
maybe a little more. There was a lot of people. I remembered
Yeah,
everybody's name because I'm good at that, right? Because oh my gosh, don't
that's
forget
good.
people's name. But I hung out with people and I talked to people. I was very proud of myself.
Oh, that is
Mhm.
so did you have a good conversation or did you have a people pleasing just conversation?
One of the friends is a horse
Mhm.
person, so of course we clicked like right away. She's like, "I got 15 horses." I was like, "I've got 13.
Yeah.
Let's be friends." So, yeah,
Good,
yeah.
good. Because you can do that. Because I know I can do that, like, you can get in those situations and the people pleasing will take over and you'll talk and you'll be social and everyone's so proud of you, and then you get home and you just crash. You are just
Yes.
tired. Yeah.
Yes, and one of them, like, acknowledged that he recognized I was a therapist, and then proceeded to tell me all of his trauma, and then apologized for telling me all of his trauma, and then told me all of his trauma some more, and I was like, "Ah, okay." My husband was like, "She's a therapist, not your therapist."
Bluntness to the rescue. Thank you, Ryan.
Yes, he's like, "Can you stop talking now?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh." But my people pleasing was taking over, like, "You need somebody to listen to you, so I'm here for it, I'll listen." And he was
Mhm.
like, no, like, we're on vacation, stop."
I'm pretty sure that's how I got into therapy. Was it 8th grade or ninth grade? I was, like, in 8th grade or something, and this person just started talking to me at the bus stop. I don't remember her name. I don't know if I ever actually knew her name. She sat near me in chorus the year after that, but she's just telling me all of this really deep, really heavy, "You shouldn't be going through this stuff in high school," and I'm just like, "I don't know you or what I'm doing or anything." Okay. I think that was my intro into people talk at you with their stuff. Maybe you should learn how to listen.
Mhm. Yep,
Yeah.
same. It was that way all through school and into adult like, people in grocery
Mhm.
store lines, like, I don't talk to anybody, I don't make eye contact, like, I get my stuff and I get out, yet somebody always starts talking to me, and I
Mhm.
don't know how to say no thanks, I don't care. So then I end up hearing their life story and
Mm.
then giving them advice or just saying, "Wow, that's really hard."
Yeah. It's my favorite therapeutic intervention. That sucks. Yeah.
"Yeah, what are you doing about that?"
Yeah. Dang. All right. That is rough.
Let's find you a therapist,
Yeah. Yeah.
not me.
No. Yeah. No. No. I'm not. No.
I do not even carry business cards. No, thank you.
No. I think I did for like 5 minutes of my life, and then I decided, no, this is not a me thing.
Mm-mm.
Because if you carry business cards, you might give them out, and then people might call you.
Yes, and people forget, like, it's your career and that you need to get paid. Like, I got bills to pay, people. I would love to hear
Mhm.
your stories. Enter your credit card number first.
Yes, yes. Unless you come in on the podcast, and then we'll listen to stories.
Yes, come talk to us on the podcast. Free therapy, but this is not fair therapy.
It's not
Disclaimer.
therapy. We might drink while you talk to us just to prove it's not therapy.
Facts.
Mhm.
Sip and bitch. Let's do this.
We can do that.
Oh, so rolling into that,
Mhm.
intrusive thoughts. How did you deal with your intrusive thoughts while you were on vacation?
Ooh, it was hard. Like, there was I there was a lot of good points. So one of our things we did on vacation was we went on this zip line tour through Gatorland, which was honestly a lot of fun. It really was. But there's heights and there's just I'm strapped to this string and my lovely little nephew who's, all of 11 years old decided I got to go first. This entire group, so we had 6 people in our group, and there was, I don't know, maybe another 6 people going at the same time. He decided I got to go first out of everyone. So our guide, goes, "Okay, so this, if you're holding on to it, that's really not gonna do anything at all. That's just false security." I'm like, "Yeah, and I'm going first, so I need the false security." But I did it. I made through because once you jump off that, yeah, there's nothing you could do. So it's like, "All right, I got false security. I'm just gonna hold on to this, and I'm gonna jump because if someone's gonna die, I'm going first, so it might as well be me instead of everyone else in the party." I mean, technically
Mhm.
second because the guy went first, but and of course, no one died. And then after that, I didn't need the security control as much until we got to this rope bridge, which is a giant, it's not even 2 by 4s, they're like 2 1 by 2s next to each other, and you have to walk all the way down. So jumping off and doing the rope swing is like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna make it, but you know what? I can't stop myself once I go. Going down that bridge, you had to take every single step, and it was very much a focus in on your steps and just keep moving your feet and then figure out where you're at. So, there's just that kinda lockdown method because if I let myself think, if I let those intrusive thoughts in at that second, I wouldn't have moved. And I know this because my dad, who was terrified of heights, was actually behind me on that rope bridge. He's like, "I started off so good. I was right behind you. And then I looked up and you were all the way down the bridge." I didn't stop. You thought I didn't stop.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's really like that's how you have to deal with it, right? Those intrusive thoughts come in
Mm,
and you have to tell yourself like I can
mm,
either sit here and ruminate about this and
mm,
everything that can go wrong, or I can just jump. I
mm,
can jump and whatever happens, happens, and I'll deal with it when it gets here. And
mhm,
that is the hardest part because once you start thinking, now you're down that rabbit hole
mm,
of everything could go wrong.
mhm. Yeah, because the intrusive thoughts, they tend to be these little things that kind of pop up out of nowhere. A lot of times they seem generated by what you're feeling and just attaching meaning to that feeling.
Mhm.
So they're intrusive. It's not like, "Oh, I am planning and coming to this logical conclusion of this thought." It's just this thing that pops into your head. So when you grab onto it and you start to look at, "Why am I thinking this? What does it mean? Where did it came from? Where's it going to go?" You take this little momentary blip and you stretch it out and you make it bigger and it fills the space of your mind. And suddenly there's lots of little blips sitting there yelling at you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got an email from one of our listeners, Allie, and I just want to read it because I feel like it goes along very well with what not only you and I deal with on a daily
Mhm.
basis, but what like I feel like everybody has intrusive thoughts, whether they admit it or
Yes.
not. It's another story. But everybody has them.
Mhm.
But some people can let it go as it's just random thought that popped in my head, versus others who hold them, catch them,
Mhm.
we collect them all, and then we have to make sure we understand every little piece of it and everything that can go wrong.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Bear with me. Terrible at reading, guys. Okay.
You got this.
So, just a thought to touch on postpartum anxiety without or with prior anxiety attached. And when does it go from postpartum to just standard anxiety? Also, how do you go about the anxiety caused by childhood movie trauma? If I tell my child I'll always be there for her, but then always think of The Lion King and how Mufasa was not there for Simba, and he was really upset. So then I have to tell my baby, even if I have to haunt her, I'll be there for her. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. But then I get worried to put that out into the world, but also in her head that I won't just always be there for her and it's a bad cycle. Probably related to postpartum, but she's 15 months and my anxiety goes down the intrusive dark path. So it's probably just regular anxiety. Summary: anxiety about not always being there for baby, while also anxious I'll cause her issues if I tell her I will always be there, but I'm not. But if I am always there, if I tell her I might not be, does that hurt? It's an anxious cycle. How do I break this cycle?
Whew. First off, you read that beautifully.
Thank you.
Yes, wonderful. I was also momentarily terrified that with childhood movie trauma, we were gonna go down the never ending story route. So I'm
That one
kinda
still
glad we
gives
didn't.
me trauma.
So much, right? Especially because I have a horse that does not like mud, so I keep joking with him about that and calling him a Treyu every time we have to ride through the mud.
Poor
Like,
tree.
I know, I feel like he was traumatized too, so
Yes.
poor Rusty. Poor Rusty, he just doesn't like his mud. Ah, but I know I'm trying to think of what I've seen for the research as I touched my face, which I was very bad at doing all through COVID as well. I'm not sure we have a good timeline definition for that postpartum anxiety to anxiety because I don't think they have a very good handle on hormone regulation postpartum in general.
Mhm.
Like I was getting article posted like, "Oh, they're studying the female body now," a month ago. Mm, do better. Do better.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't think we have the right data for that specificness yet. There does seem to be quality and focus with the postpartum. It does seem to be a very big spike, and it does seem to focus a lot about the new baby and about the family. Do you have any experience with the postpartum, Jess, or
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And I experienced it different with all of my kids. I've got 4 birth children. And my last one, my first one and my last one were the worst, um, for different reasons. But, I wanna say, my first one, the cycle broke, like, oh,
Mhm.
you guys know, you've been listening to us for 7 episodes now. Um, I'm a very anxious person to begin with, and I feel like that postpartum anxiety, if you're already an anxious person, you now have a whole other human life to worry about. And
Mm.
that increases and lengthens postpartum anxiety versus somebody who isn't naturally an anxious person but ends up with postpartum anxiety. So my youngest is 2, he'll be 3 in October, and I feel like sometimes I still struggle a little bit with that postpartum anxiety with him because he was a very traumatic birth. He had open heart surgery at 12 days old. Like he went through so much that I still, if I hear the tiniest peep from him, I've convinced myself like he's dying, he's having a heart attack, something's wrong with him. And I'm in his room checking him. So I don't sleep at night because I'm always afraid like if I sleep too deeply, I'm not going to hear him and he's going to die and it's going to be my fault. So I think that it can, like, breaking that cycle is hard and learning what is an intrusive thought and what is not, and being able to say, I can't control every situation. I have no way to know that the next morning my son will still be alive. So I have to just say, I'm going to go to sleep and I'm going to trust that when I wake up, I will deal with whatever is laid out in front of me. But I'm not there yet. So if I don't rest, I can't take care of him. And it's only making this worse. And I think that's how you start to break that cycle of saying, yeah, maybe I'm not always going to be there for my child's. And I have no way to guarantee her that I will be. But I can promise her that as long as I am on this earth, I will do everything I can to ensure her needs are taken care of.
Mhm. And I think like you talked or you touched on that need for trust. And that is such an important piece of relationships with anxiety of all this because there is no absolute. Well, if you
Mm,
think on the anxiety and you know with your work with OCD, if you don't have that trust in yourself, in the environment, and in other people, you check and you check and you check and you check. And if you don't have the ability to say, I checked once and I believe in the check that I did, I believed with the person I checked with, then you go back and you check and you check. And that on off switch never turns off because you can't trust the answer you know you have. And with this too, you have to trust that you don't have the answers. You don't know what's going to happen the next day, but you know you're going to do their best. You're going to give everything you have into caring for your baby. You're going to be the parent that you can be, and whatever comes, comes, and you will face it. And you know, if you go into that, like, I know going back to the ghost idea and am I going to ruin my child by trying to overcorrect? It's almost like you're trying to keep her from having to trust as well. Like you're trying to say, I will be there, I will be there, I will be there. You never have to have that object permanence and close your eyes and just hear my voice in your head. You never have to internalize me and just go with everything I've taught you. I will be there to tell you that. And I imagine that's because I'm not the parent, but I imagine for you as the parent, that would be ideal if you were constantly there. If you were able to take care of everything they needed. So there was no pain, no bumps, no bruises, no scratches, no sadness. And anytime there is sadness, you're there to comfort, you're there to love.
Yep.
And that's not reality.
And that understanding and that radical acceptance that there isn't 100% certainty in life. If there
Mhm,
was, then we would have nothing to worry about, but there's
mm,
not. And if you have intrusive thoughts to begin with, then you're always going to be
mm,
seeking out that uncertainty and you're
mm,
never going to find it no matter how much you try to rationalize.
mhm,
So bringing yourself to just saying, there's no way to know that I will always be there for her.
mhm.
Disney movies lie. As much as we want to haunt people, we can't. Well, maybe we can. We just don't know
I
yet.
don't know.
We don't know till we're there. So
Yeah,
when we get there, we'll know.
mm,
But until then, just be there for her. Just
mhm,
enjoy every moment and the time you have without worrying about what you can't control.
mhm. And giving her, giving your son, giving your children everything that you can in that sense of emotional stability and support and awareness because they will internalize that. You know,
Mhm.
loving your children like you do, they are able to hold on to that and to keep that with them. So even if you can't be there, and it doesn't even have to be, oh my gosh, you've died. It can be you're off at the store and the kid's staying home with dad.
So sorry.
I know you took a trip and the kid's with a babysitter or with
Mhm.
another family member or at school. Like there are these little tiny moments of stepping away that your child needs to know you're there when you're not there, that they can
Mhm.
remember you, they can think of you, they can feel loved by you, even if you are not actively there going, hey, 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 I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. It's a great way to get a bruise in your head.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just be there. That's how you break the cycle. Just be there
It's coming
while you
back to
can.
presence. Yeah. I say it's
Yep.
coming back to being present instead of trying to anticipate the future. Mm.
Yep.
Especially like you were saying, um, and trying to grab onto, trying to answer all of those intrusive thoughts instead of the radical acceptance. We can't logic them away. First off, because some of them are just absolutely illogical and just off the wall. But then some of them are just things. You know, what if I die someday? You
It's not my
can't say
problem anymore.
that's true. It's very much true. It's like death and taxes. Done with the taxes part. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I hate taxes. But you can't say I will never die. If everything goes as planned, you will die before your children. That is the path. That is the way it needs to be. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's never always the way it works, but it's the general idea is you will leave and your child will be behind.
Mhm.
What are you leaving your child? What are you teaching your child? What will your child take of you? And how do we get them to that point?
Yeah.
Yeah. And even if it's just the start of that point, and even if it is just, I think of like adopted babies and stuff, just being in the womb for those 9 months, just that bit of a heartbeat and a voice constantly throughout that time, that's something.
Mhm.
What did you get them for that time? You know, what did you give them? Your baby's 15 years or 15, not your years, 15 months old. Your baby's 15, 14 years. One of your babies. You
Freaking old kids.
know, they're adorable though. They're really cool. I met 2 of them. They were awesome. But even just that 15 months of being there, of responding to your child's needs, of teaching your child that it's okay to go into the world and to come back to you and say, "Look at what I found in the world. I pet a stingray. That's so cool." I was like, "What
Mhm.
are you giving your child the ability to do and giving your child the power to go and do versus keeping your child with you and doing it all for them?"
Yes. And it's coming back to that remembering that excitement and anxiety develop in the same place in your brain so they can
Mm,
feel exactly the same. And if you
mhm,
shift that thought from this is scary to wow, this is something exciting, this is something new, then it
mhm.
takes away that control and that power that the fear has over you.
Yeah, because it is. It's the ability to do your safety check. If you're gonna jump on a zip line, make sure all the pieces that need to be connected are connected. Don't jump before they hook you on. They make sure of that. Yeah, like have that safety. And within that realm of safety, take that appropriate risk. And I know
Mhm.
we touched on this before, like you have to take a risk. You have to try something different, try something new. And as much as you want to love and protect your children, you have to let them do that too.
Yep. The scariest shit is usually the greatest.
Yeah. Oh, so much so.
Mhm.
And the messy shit. Scary and messy tend to both be
Yeah.
great. Mhm,
Wonderful things come out of them if you just have faith and jump
mhm,
in.
yeah,
And sometimes shitty things come out of it.
mhm,
You do what you can.
yeah. And either way, you're getting a thing. You don't have the if you do choice A, that will lead you down the direct right path and everything will happen. I mean, even if you do horrible choices, all it takes you to is the next step. We're very hopeful that no one does the horrible choice, that the next step is figuring out if you can haunt someone or not. But that's still your next step. It just takes you to your next step. It doesn't take you all the way to the end of everything. It's just, what choice do I have next? What choice do I have after this one?
Mhm.
What do I have to deal with next? Mm.
Yep.
So, what do you do with your intrusive thoughts, Jess? Mm.
The ones that I listen to or the ones that I ignore?
Mm. Uh, Maybe both.
So, funny story, just because if it's not uncomfortable and ridiculous, it's not me. So, we are in the airport on
Mm,
our way to Vegas. And we were waiting for a flight and I had to run to the bathroom. So as I go, of course, they got the signs on the back of the door, right, that say human trafficking is real. If you are in danger, or you're being human trafficked, and it shows like how to do H and T in sign language,
mm.
and it says to make this, make these signs at an airport security or any airport staff. So in my brain, I'm like, I want to see how responsive they actually are. Is everybody actually trained in this? And I'm like thinking about this, right? Like it's going through my head, and I'm like, I'm gonna try it. I want to try it. Like, this is a good idea. I want to see if people actually respond to this. Like, what if they are being human trafficked and nobody knows? And I go and I sit down next to my husband and I was like, I'm having an intrusive thought. And I think it would be really funny to do, but I also recognize it would be really bad for you. And he was like, what are you talking about? So I explained the whole thing to him and he starts laughing. He was like, let's do it. Also, this can end very badly. It's like, you're not supposed to encourage my intrusive thoughts. I did not do it. I did not get my husband arrested for human trafficking. Um, but it's those things, right? Like they come
Mhm,
into my head and the reality is like sometimes my intrusive thoughts are just really funny. Like they're really
mhm,
stupid. And I'm like, yeah, that's ridiculous. Like, why would you do that? But there are times when they come in and you're like, this is
mhm,
actually kind of scary for me, right? Like that fear. We live in a school zone, a very, very busy school zone. Like we have a high school, a middle school, and an elementary school back to back. It takes forever to get out of our road, out of our neighborhood. And the kids are everywhere. They're running across the street, stupid parents letting their kids out in the middle of the freaking road in a busy road, right? Because they're too freaking lazy to go sit in the school line. Leave earlier. That's all I'm saying. Leave earlier. Um, And then my brain is always like, "Oh my gosh, what if I wasn't paying attention? What if I hit a kid? What if," and I'm those intrusive thoughts are constant, and I just have to be like, "Well, if I hit a kid, I guess I'm gonna find out later, right? I'm gonna end up on the news." And that is how I deal with mine, of
Mhm,
dark humor, because if I
mhm,
don't have the dark humor for me, then I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole, and I'm gonna need to check, and I'm gonna be obsessive over it, wondering if I hurt somebody.
mhm.
So, for me, it's the dark humor. I make very inappropriate jokes. "Well, you're having thoughts about killing yourselves? Nobody wants to clean up that mess. That's gonna be gross."
Yeah, no, let's not do that.
But little things like that,
Mhm.
that's how I get through it, right? Of making it funny.
Yeah, because you make it funny and you also like, the dark humor of, "Oh, I guess I'll figure it out." So there's no shutdown and avoidance and, I can't, what if I did?" There's, "Alright, maybe I did," and you'll notice if you hit a kid. Also, you're in a school zone, so you're going like 20 miles an hour, so it's really hard to accidentally hit a kid. But you would notice. So the intrusive thought gets you stuck if that was one that you shoved away and you obsessed over, "Oh my gosh, what if I did this? What if I was the bad person? What if I had accidentally run over the child and I didn't know it? It would be horrible." And yeah, it would be horrible.
Mhm.
You would know. You are
Yeah.
not drunk. You are not, on 20 other substances. You are dropping off your own children, so are being a good mom.
Yeah,
You would
and
know.
I'm like, "My phone, I will not touch this
Mhm,
sucker when I am in a school zone," like,
mhm.
no way. You just never know,
Yeah.
and my intrusive thoughts will take me there. "Oh, I hit a
Mhm,
speed bump." It was probably a 4-year-old.
mhm. It was not the 4-year-old because you looked at the speed bump. Yeah, but it does. It gives you, like you talked before with your OCD clients, and the suicide mask, like, it gives you that permission to think the thought and recognize, "I'm not doing this. I don't want this.
Mhm.
I'm okay. This is not me." And that's the biggest thing with intrusive thoughts. They're not really us. Like, they're
Yes.
not what we choose. They don't support our values. They don't support how we want to live in this world, what we want to purposely do in this world. They are random little bits and flecks and pieces that just pop in there.
They are
Like,
called intrusive for a reason because they
yes.
are unwanted and don't fit
Mhm.
into your morals and
Yes.
values.
Your intrusive thought is not, chocolate cake is a delicious thing that I would really like for breakfast, but I shouldn't eat it. That's not an intrusive thought. An intrusive thought is, oh my gosh, did I eat it? Did I do that? Did I eat all the chocolate cake? Is it left in the fridge? Did I wake up in the middle of the night? No, you're
"Did I leave
fine.
my kid in the car? Can I go check the car seats?"
Check the car seats.
Always check the car seats.
My car yells at me to check the back seat if my puppy's back there, so we're good. I know, right?
Your puppy actually stays in the back seat, mine does
He
not.
does. He does now. Plus, now he just finished his charm school, so he stays there even better.
Oh, what a good boy.
I know, he's such a good boy. He's even more charming now he finished charm school. But you don't want to give an intrusive thought any more value than it is. It
Mhm.
is a random thought that you didn't want that you're not going to follow through on.
Yes.
No. Say we did not climb any of the trees to gather the coconuts. We may have thrown some coconuts at a tree. Luke has very good aim and he almost hit the other coconut. But we did not climb the tree next to the very busy road to get the coconuts down. So it's a thing, it's a thought. You look at it, it's like, this is a thought. This is a thought that is not real and I'm not going to follow through on when it's one of the behavioral thoughts of, oh, did I do this? Or, oh, should I do this? Like, this
Mhm.
is not one we're going to follow through on. This is a bad idea. And you can set it aside. It's like when it's not the thought of, "Oh, let's do this thing," when it's the thought of, "Oh, did I forget something? Did I miss something? Did I lose something?" Take that break, take that break, because it's still just an intrusive thought. It's still not you. So take
Yeah.
that breath. Did you do it? Did you leave your kid in your car seat? I have no idea. Let's run through your day. Is it possible? Maybe you should go check. Once you've checked once, can you trust that that's the answer and go back to it? If it's not possible, I was like, "Did I leave my kid in the car seat? No, I didn't put my kid in the car seat. I may have left the kid at home, but I left the kid at home with the parent that's supposed to have the kid." That's allowed.
My daycare is excellent for OCD because I get a text notification after I check my kid in.
That's actually really good. I like that. Does it
Yeah.
go out to both parents or just the one?
Both. We both get
See?
a text saying the kid has been checked in.
That's kinda nice. I kinda like that.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, that kinda works, but it is. It's, "Alright, I got the text here." Sometimes you need those checks in place. You know, sometimes if you're the type of person that uses a hair curler, I don't think I've ever owned one, or a
I don't think
flattener.
you
I don't
need one.
no. I also don't think I own a hair dryer at this point, but that's my life. If you're the type of person that uses one and gets distracted because your ADHD and your spicy brain just does that, and you leave things plugged in because you get distracted by something that made a noise in the other room,
Mhm.
you would want a check and balance of, did I unplug the hair dryer? Or if you're a horse person, Jess, how many times have you left your water on for the
Oh my
horses?
gosh, all the time. And the alpaca pen, I flood the alpaca pen on a regular basis
Mhm,
because it like sprays water and they love it. So I turn it on for them and then I go do something else. And then I
mhm.
go to leave and I'm like, oh, my pen is flooded. It's a good thing that they're on a good solid 9 or so acres so I can get away from it.
Yes, and it is such like, there are so many memes online. It is such a thing if you are a horse person, alpaca person, cow person, like, if you have a water trough and you need to refill it with a hose, you leave the hose on. And so you will constantly see things about people that put hair ties on the hose so that they can put it on their wrist when they walk away. So like, "Why is this giant thing on my" "Oh, I gotta go run up the hill for a second." Now, sometimes you need a check. Or the
Mhm.
other day we have 4 baby chicks behind me, but we have a mama and a baby up the hill, and I took their food and water out because they needed to be refilled, and I put it down, and then I went and opened the other chicken door and the other chicken door, and it wasn't directly in my face, so 2 hours later, I had to go back up the hill and feed the chickens. Now, like, if you're moving something or doing something like that, if you're cooking and stirring something, walk away with the spoon. If you have the spoon in your hand, you're gonna look at the spoon and go, "I was stirring things," and walk back into the kitchen. And if you don't have the spoon in your hand and you go into the other room, you're gonna go, "Oh, this is a comfy seat. What was I doing?" And you're gonna
Yeah.
sit and you're gonna forget it
Every time.
every time.
I
Which is
burn food so often.
grilled cheese. I'm a good cook. I love cooking. Grilled cheese was just too easy and too boring, and I'm sorry for all the grilled cheeses of Casey's that I burned. I love you dearly. I got better at it, but I would just get distracted and it would burn.
Same. I cannot have my phone or toddlers in the kitchen at all if I'm cooking because I will guaranteed burn whatever I put in the oven every single time or the
Mhm,
quesadillas.
mhm.
Every time. Never fails.
Yeah. Mhm. And it's okay. So if you have intrusive thoughts about burning your food, we do it anyway, and we survive. And the
Yep.
food's sometimes edible, sometimes not.
Mostly not. Usually just throw it away. Throw it over, hoarder, Uber
Yeah.
Eats.
Chickens will eat it all.
Yes.
And it's I know, like you said before, there are some thoughts in your head that you just ignore. So
Mhm.
what's your process for going back to the intrusive thoughts? When you have those intrusive thoughts, the ones you can ignore, how did you build up that skill? Because it is a practice skill to build up, people. Hint, hint.
Yes, I tell my
Mm,
clients all of the time, like, it sounds easy when I'm telling you, "Well, just ignore it," right? Like, what can you choose to do instead? But I also recognize, because I've had to learn this myself, that it's not easy. It's so much easier said than done. And it is something that is uncomfortable, and you really have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
mhm,
So, leaning into when I have that intrusive thought, is it causing me more distress having this thought? Or what if I'm uncomfortable anyways? And I ask myself, is there actually a solution to this problem? Or is checking or asking for reassurance or whatever only going to make it worse? Because I'm not going to believe them anyways. So, what can I do instead? What actually is within my control in this situation, whether it's reading a book, going for a walk, can you text a friend? Like, is there something else you can do other than worry about this? And if it pops up again or something actually presents itself that it's something you can take care of, then you can deal with that intrusive thought. But in this moment, it's just a thought and it doesn't
mhm,
require your attention.
mhm. And it is a good skill to work on because it takes that practice, it takes that work, it takes that repetition of you have the intrusive thought and you put it aside and you go on with your life. and the intrusive thought doesn't have any power and nothing happens because of it. You
Yes,
have to see that part. Yeah. You have to see there's that.
absolutely.
Mhm.
There is, I'm trying to remember his name. Let me see. I'm gonna look it up real quick because otherwise it's gonna drive me crazy because it's an intrusive thought. um, on YouTube, there is a guy named Nathan Peterson, and he specializes in OCD and anxiety. And that is the name of his username is at
Mm.
OCD and anxiety. But he is fantastic, and he talks about his rubber band theory, right? That when you start to resist those compulsions to check and to feed into this intrusive thought, right? Like you're stretching, and that's what's so uncomfortable is because you're stretching that rubber band, and you're stretching it, you're stretching it, you're stretching it. And the moment you give in and you release some of that tension, you're starting all over again. But if you keep resisting and you keep pulling, eventually that rubber band is going to snap and it breaks that hold over you. So it's no different than giving up drinking or smoking or whatever, like any addictive substance. It's the same. Your brain works the same way
Mhm.
with giving up, resisting those intrusive thoughts and those compulsions to try to make it go away.
Yeah, I do like that analogy because it does have that edge when you give into a compulsion, when you give into that anxiety, there is that dopamine release. There is that, "I feel better. I feel good." Right before it felt really bad, and now I feel good. So there's that feedback loop that you create in your brain of when I feel this tension, I want to do this thing and feel good.
Hmm.
And it's hard to resist getting that quick, instant good feeling. But that quick, instant good does not last. And it makes the tension that much stronger the next time because your brain's like, ooh, this worked. Let's redo it.
Yep,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah. Brains. They're so cool.
Fabulous.
They
Fabulous,
are.
honey.
The nonsense they put us through, but dang, they're good.
Facts.
Mhm. But it's letting yourself feel the thoughts. It's if you like meditation, that's a good one for just noticing how often random thoughts pop in your head that mean absolutely nothing because you're bored and they just start popping in your head.
Yes, absolutely. So I am a person that the only time my mind is not racing is when I'm in nature. And I have the luxury of going out to my horse pastures, right? Not everybody has that. But what I do is I journal. I don't look at my journal, it'll scare you. I write down all of my intrusive thoughts, especially if they're ones like I can't let go of and they are impacting my ability to get through my day or to function. I write them down and I look at them and I say, okay, what is actually within my control and how likely is this to happen? This is clearly worst case scenario, right? If we need
Mhm.
to go down that worst case scenario, I write it out. And then I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't really seem that reasonable because then it's laid out in front of me and I'm able to say, okay, there's nothing I can do about this. I'm moving on with my day
Mhm.
versus trying to rationalize it in your head. It's not going to happen. You're just feeding it.
Mhm. There's no boundaries in your head. There's too much space in your head. It doesn't work very well. It needs to, even if you're not talking to anyone, if you talk to a tree, if you talk to an alpaca, if you talk to a cat, like just saying it out loud will help. Writing it down helps. And like
Hmm.
just that going back to it, I would offer to show you some Bible journals, but I tend to burn them with reason.
It's a good idea. It's a good
Eh,
idea.
you should. But, like, I would write everything that my brain would just spin out and just dump everything down there, and then I would go back and I would leave just enough margin to start critiquing it. When I went back through, like, "This is not, and this is not, and this is not." Or when I was in I think it started in high school, but when I was in college, I developed a shorthand for myself, so I could just write back and forth to myself in classes, and people couldn't read what I was writing, and I would just have all these conversations with myself, and like, "This is the side that's spinning out, and this is the side that's going, and this is spinning out, and this is calm," and they would switch roles as I would talk. It was very interesting.
Yes,
But
absolutely. You do what you have to. Like my most active intrusive thoughts are social anxiety. It's
mm,
weird to think because I'm a freaking therapist. I talk to people for a living, but oh my gosh, I get so anxious talking to people. My every time I have a new client, like I probably go through as much anxiety as they do before they get there. And then I find my element. But it is that buildup of what if I screw up? What if I can't find
mm,
words? What if I don't know what the hell I'm gonna say? And It's that way for every I struggle talking to cashiers people. Like,
Mm.
social anxiety is very real, and it is
Mhm.
very real for me. So, knowing how to separate that out, like, worst case scenario, right? I might say the wrong thing. Oh,
Mm.
well, I offended somebody. Can't take it back now.
No.
Moving forward.
Offended someone, you ordered the wrong food, you didn't ask for your change. Okay, move on.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, we got this. But yeah, so it's a lot of exposure. It's a lot of practice not jumping to respond and release that tension. And a lot of giving yourself permission to mess up and to do it.
Yep.
Give yourself permission to say, "This is what I'm worried about." If we go back to Allie's letter and her talking about, like, if I tell my daughter this, am I gonna scar her? And if I don't tell her this, am I gonna scar her if she happens? If your child loses you, they're gonna be scarred.
Yeah.
There's no protection. Like, they're gonna hurt. You want to give them as much love as you can so that there is something to carry them through that hurt.
Yep.
And that's what you do.
You just give them the tools while you're here, and then
Yeah.
when things happen, they will figure it out because
Mhm.
they have had your unconditional love and guidance for as
Mhm.
long as you were here with them.
Yep. And if you're as stubborn as we are, you will figure out how to haunt people anyway because why not?
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah. So you're not being bad parents, Jesse. You're not being a bad parent. You're not being a bad social person. You're a wonderful social person.
I talked to people, okay? Oh my gosh, we went to the most amazing show. It was called Absinthe, and it was grotesquely hilarious and so much fun. And I like engaged, I danced with random strangers. I don't dance, I don't sing, like I don't do these things in front of people because people could be looking at me. But I did that, and I made one guy extremely uncomfortable. So sorry, Morgan. But also, it was funny. I was like, "Oh, he doesn't find me attractive." He's like, "I didn't say that."
I didn't say that. I just said not upset your husband. Yeah, flirt with me or you're being rude.
You
That's awesome.
goodness. I like making people uncomfortable. It makes me less uncomfortable. Sorry, guys. It's how I get through.
See, you did that. I look for, like, the people that look as uncomfortable as I'm pretending not to be. I'm like, "Oh, you're uncomfortable too. Okay, let's relax together."
I'm like,
Got this.
"You look uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. Let me make you more uncomfortable."
That's easy to do. No wonder we click off.
Yes.
It's like, "I am uncomfortable. Thank you for this. Okay. We got this. We totally got this."
Oh, yes. Amazing.
So with that, let's wrap it up for the tonight then. So thank you all for joining us for 7 episodes in now. If you'd like to listen to our past ones, listen to our future ones, you can find us wherever you find your podcasts. So we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on YouTube. If you'd like to see our lovely faces, or if you'd like to just put our lovely faces away and listen to us, there is a slightly less edited version on YouTube because don't edit videos as much, it makes them weird. We have a Patreon community if anyone ever wants to join and chat over there. There's free options, there's paid options where I will let you see all of the stuff I cut out of the video, like the fun random moments in the middle. Cut all those out for you, but you can find them there. And you can talk to us lots of other places. Where else can they find us, Jess?
You can join in our community on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I am trying to get better about posting TikToks, but I do post frequently on Facebook and Instagram.
Sounds great. So look us up, drop us a line, keep emailing us. We may read parts of it, we may read comments. I will comment back to you if I see comments anywhere. We're here. Looking forward to hearing from you all, and we will be back in a couple weeks to talk to you again. Take care.
Bye.